are not present. So this is the case study which was given to me. The case study on Pay Wallet, which is actually a banking company, or we can say rather e-wallet. So they were actually facing a problem which is the best solution in data science. So being a data scientist, the problem which was given to me is that in Pay Wallet the number of customers increased. So what they did, they decided to give the loan. They were allowed to give the loan. Now they don't have any criteria on giving the loan. So what they can do? They only have the past record and the past data. So the last option left is to study the data and to predict that whether we can give a person loan or not. So basically at the beginning I received a data sheet which showed like this. In this data sheet there is a default value which is actually a dependent variable, and all other variables are independent variable. And by using the independent variable, I am used to decide the default variable, which is 1 or 0. 1 means the creditor, means the person, the client should not be given the loan, and 0 means the client should be given the loan. This is actually based on the record that by taking a loan, if someone has caused a fault, then it is written as 1, and if someone has not caused any fault, then it is written as 0. So this is the data set which I received, and after studying the data set, I need to analyze that how we can decide this default variable. Means basically the dependent variable, we are analyzing the independent one. Now in order to do such things, I did a lot of study and graphical analysis, in which I found out at first is the duration versus default. Default means the default value. So we can see wherever the duration is high, the probability C, wherever in most of the cases, wherever the duration is high, the default seems to be there. The blue line represents the default and the orange line represents the duration. So from here we can predict that whenever the person is taking loan for long duration, the possibility of the person being fault or not being able to pay the loan is much more. And whenever there is a less default, that time we can assure that the person will surely pay back the loan. Now the second study goes to the purpose of the loan. So from that chart only, here we have a column where it's mentioned the purpose, which is an independent variable, and from here I need to decide the default variable. And in the purpose, I have highlighted in many places wherever there is business, the person is seen to have caused default. The main reason being that whenever the person starts a business, means it is generally a startup, and in case of startup there is a lot of chance that the person might fail. That's why in case of business the person fails. Not only this, I have much more examples to show. For example, this one, in which both the cases only we can see business where there is a default, and example this one. See, in so many cases, 1, 2, 3, 4, in all the cases see business, business and business. So this, by seeing this, we can predict that from next time whenever they're giving a loan, if it is a business purpose, then they might think twice over it and might predict that for business purpose it might be harm to that company. Now my next analysis is about the credit amount versus default value. So here we can see that whenever the credit amount by the person is high, see, in many places we can see the credit amount of the person is high, that time we can see the default value is there. The blue line as usual represents the default value, and the other thing is represented by the orange line. So whenever the credit amount is high, the default value is always 1. See, credit amount high, default value, credit amount high, default is 1. So by this we can say that by checking the past record of that person or by looking at the credit amount, we can say that whenever the person is taking much more credit amount, this might be a reason that the person might cause a default in future while paying back the loan. Now coming to the next analysis, that is the male defaulters versus the female defaulters. In here, the orange actually represents the defaulters, those who were male, and the blue represents the defaulters, those who were female. So by looking at this, it is clear that the probability of causing default by the male is much more than the female. So we can just as a probability assume that if we give the loan to the female, it will be much assured to be paid back instead of the male. The study says that only. Now the next is the defaulters with guarantor and defaulters without guarantor. Now here we can see the probability of the defaulters with guarantor. Very less percent. If the person is having a guarantor, very less of them are causing the default. and if the person is not having a guarantor, we can see that so a huge part of it they are causing a default. So we can say that a person with a guarantor should be approved loan at the beginning, cause a person with a guarantor is seen to have always paid back the loan without any fault, and a person without a guarantor, in many cases means it has been seen that the person is not able to pay back the loan. And my last study comes to that age versus default value. Age. Now it is the one of the most important factor while providing a loan, age group. So just check the default values. In this default value, see the age group is actually lies between this. See, all the default values lies between this. All the default values lies between this means age range, which is nearly about 25 to 40. So we can predict away that from an age range of 25 to 40, the probability of causing default is much more. And we can see that in other cases when the age is much more, there is no default. So while giving the loan, we must also consider the age. If the age of the person lies between this range, then we must think twice before giving the loan, cause it might be a problem. And if the age of the person is much more higher than that range, we can give the person loan easily. For example, see here, no default with high ages. So from this, it is clear that how age means how depending on the age the default also causes. So finally, by doing all this study, I came to a result, and actually they have given me another sheet, which actually is this, where there is no default value, where there is only the independent variables column, no default column. So after doing this predictive analysis and all this, and after doing this classifications of this problem, as it's a classification problem, so I assigned them, I created a new result sheet where with the default value. See, this default value was created based on the assumption and all the study which I have shown before. By doing that, by taking these results, I plotted them into the graph, and finally I got this default value and assigned the default value such as 1 or 0. 1 means the person should not be given the loan, and 0 means the person should be given the loan. So this is how I gave the solution to the problem of the given problem statement which was given to me by the pay wallet company. Thank you.